Yeah, I don't want people to feel like they're being scolded when I talk to them.
I get that. I get that. There's an art to communication, no doubt about it. And yeah, I think that's like admirable that, you recognize like I want to work on my communication skills. I don't want to blame other people for not being able to hear me. I want to see what I can do to put myself out there in a way that is more hearable. And then if people don't hear it, I mean, they can only meet you as deeply as they met themselves. Like, they can only do what they can do. But I feel like you're already listenable, but I've only known you for a short time. So maybe this is something in the category of like, we just had the Gemini new moon as far as like kind of beginning to see our new story and letting go of our old story. Um, yeah, yeah.
Hopefully. So I guess I'm also going to try to lean more into the North Node and just kind of like put my feelings out there and my ideas out there and not really, I don't know, because I feel like if I can just lay them out somewhere, I don't have to feel like I'm accosting people.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's so much easier to tell it to the video in general than it is to come up with like a person who disagrees with you and try to have a conversation back and forth with them. Like that's such a different situation. I feel like it's just easier to be hearable in general when you can get on a video.
it's it's so interesting because the thing that I sound best when I'm talking to people. Because even I feel like we were talking about this on, I don't know when we were talking about it, but like my South Node being in Gemini, like when I'm just talking, it just comes, and that's where the good stuff comes. When I sit down and like I'm like, well, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. It is real rough. It's real rough. And so what I started doing with recording is that I started going live on Bigo. So it's just like however long it takes me to settle in is how long it takes me. But once I'm there, like there's a good rhythm or flow, but like I just have to work through it until it feels comfortable, until I feel comfortable.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
I mean,
I
that
feel
might
like
just
when
be
you're,
everybody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like communication skill set. The beginning is its own skill. Like getting started on the recording is its own skill, and ending the recording, like taking off the plane and landing the plane. Like they're both a completely different skill. Just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're going to be good at the other. And both are going to take practice, right? And like find your groove with it. Um, yeah. So like it's a muscle to continue stretching and see like it's yeah, I mean, I'm still like nervous every time I record, like every single time. And there's a lot of times where I know I want to say something, but I don't have the words yet. And so, like, I'll literally just talk about how grateful I am that I even like am willing to open my mouth and say something and like get this energy rolling. And like it just, I mean, the gratitude just naturally like takes off into something like literally every single time. Um, because there was so long where, like you said about oppressed, and my word that I always use was invisible. That like that that leaves a mark, I feel like, when you go through it for such a long time, that it does leave you with not necessarily something to prove, but with like lost time to make up for. Like, I didn't have access to this for 30 plus years, and now I do. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much. And we're off and running. Like that to me is like such a helpful bridge of just even expressing gratitude to be flowing the energy, and something is like always right there, it seems. I don't know. Because, yeah, the beginning is hard. Like, you feel like you start trying to plan sentence out, like several sentences into the first like chunk of what you're going to say. And it's not good enough. And like, you just can't start. It's like,
dude,
not
the
gonna
thing
work.
is that I literally I record all the time. I like, cause I audition and stuff. Like, so I self-tape all the time. But it's just so different from having like something to say and just showing up. Cause that's what I do. I'm a Pisces rising. I show up for life. Like, I'm here. But like, when you're, oh God, when I do it with talking, it just feels like I can never get it right. But that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the gold moments happen randomly, and I just have to be like recording the whole time to get one. To get like 15 seconds.
Maybe
the best moments are in the car.
Share some more about that. Like, what is a gold moment? How do you know when you did it right? Like, what is it that you're aiming for?
I guess when I feel like I have a gold moment, it's when like there's like when I can feel like my chest is a little lighter, like the thing that I wanted to say came out right. I communicated it in the way that I felt is like digestible, not even just digestible, but like it's just me giving it. Like I can feel those moments because I can feel it in my chest, because when I feel like I'm being misconstrued, or when I feel like I'm not being understood or I'm being misunderstood, I can feel the tightness there. Like when it's not right, when I feel like it's not right, it just, you know what I mean? Like it just sits there. And so I know that it's right when I can relax. That sounds hazy.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like you're Leo Chiron to me. That like that you're deaf. And I'm gonna just maybe make sure that I heard what you said, but like basically the way that you know it's not right is when other people don't resonate. Like they don't get it, you're misunderstood.
I guess, but I can feel like I'm not doing it right without anybody being there.
So then it has nothing to do with other people misunderstanding you. It's more about
it does. It definitely does, because that is like, I always feel
there,
like,
how does that work? If they're not there,
when they're not there, it's me like listening. Like, you know how they say you can't create and critique at the same time? It's me like going like this. No, that wasn't right.
Whose voice is
what
that?
What did that mean? What?
Whose voice is that?
That's my voice.
No. That's me.
Is that my saboteur's voice?
That's a conditioned voice. Somebody taught you how to talk to yourself like that. Your soul surely isn't saying those things. No way. Makes my scalp tingle.
Your scalp? Oh,
yeah.
No.
I don't know. It gives me these tingles on my scalp. Yeah. That's such like a good point, that you can't create and critique at the same time.
It's difficult not to.
How do you, I mean, the times when it is working, can you like notice a pattern of like, how do you get out of your head and like only in the flow of energy and just ride the wave of energy?
Well, that's part of why I do like talking to people. Like that's, I feel like in conversation, because I'm not worried about like the outside factors, I'm just like talking to somebody, that it comes across more authentic. I feel more comfortable doing so, rather than me just being by myself and like hoping and praying that I got it right.
Oh,
yeah. But then on the other hand, I can't like, it's well, not that I can't, I don't want to say that. Talking to people is hard for me to do.
Why is that?
Well, it's not hard for me. I talk to people. Like I'm fine with talking to people, but like it goes back to the communication thing.
Yeah. But again, like, why do you feel like you're bad at it? Because that's always going to be like a relative judgment, you know, being good at something or bad at something, that's subjective usually.
I don't think I'm bad at talking to people. I think I'm bad at listening to people.
Really? Dude, I resonate with that. I definitely got a little bit of that going on. It's something to practice though. Like any other skill in the communication skill set, listening is one of them, you know? Practicing listening and practicing detaching from your own thoughts that are forming in response to like what they're saying, and like yeah to like trust that you'll still have something to say even if you don't try to like hang on to like all these little ideas that you're going to mention as soon as it's your turn to talk again.
But see, that's the Pisces rising. I will forget.
Which is, in my opinion, how it is, like how it should be. That like those things, I mean, we have millions of thoughts, I don't know how often a day, running through our brains, and like 99+% of them are not meant to ever see the light of day. So like just because I'm having revelations while you're talking doesn't mean that that's what I have to say to you. I trust that like I let go of every single one of them. I give it back to the universe. And when it's my turn to talk, I say what's on top of the pile. Like, this is what is here now. And I trust the divine timing of like, you'll give me what I'm supposed to say when it's my turn to talk. I don't have to like create a mental agenda. That's how I practice listening. Cool. Since you mentioned it. Yes.
I like that.
There's like a trust piece, I think, is the key maybe to that. Trust that like the right idea is going to come back at the right time. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it play out. It's crazy. Like since I started practicing with it, where like a thought will come while they're talking and, you know, do the thing, let it go. And then like I'll be listening again, and then the thought comes again, and it's still not my turn to talk. And when it didn't come. And like that'll happen like multiple times where the thought is coming, like it's clearly the right thought. It wants to get through. And eventually, when it comes through, when it's my time to talk, it's like the perfect moment where, like you said, like there's a big difference between saying something and having it heard. So when it comes, when it's my turn to talk, like that's probably the best time for them to be able to hear it, is like really the most important part, versus just like me knowing it and knowing that I want to say it, which, you know, happens so many times before it's really time to say it, because the timing has to line up. So timing is a huge part of conversation, I think, and communication skills in general, to your point. Yeah.
I can work on that.
Yeah.
I can definitely work on that. Trusting that the thoughts will come when they're supposed to come. Right. I can do that. I can work on that.
Totally.
Oh,
yeah.
It's real hard though.
Dude, I get it. I think there's for me anyway, there's definitely like a co-process to that. Like in my practicing listening work, almost parallel is my self-worth process of like building up my self-esteem and all of that. Like I find that the higher my self-esteem gets, the better I am at listening. I don't know if that's like a case for everybody, but I do know that like that feeling that you're describing, when I feel like I'm being misunderstood, or like I said something and the person's now responding and they're addressing me like they definitely misunderstood what I said, that gets this like palpitation happening in my chest that like I want to jump in. I want to take the conversation back and like make sure that they understand that they misunderstood. Like that is like the drive that's in there. And getting that under control has been actually done through my self-worth, where them misunderstanding me is part of their process and actually not any of my business, because I can't control what they hear from what I say. I can only control that like I'm aligned with my own energy and like doing it the way that it feels good and right to me in this moment. And if they get pissed off, if they think that I'm the most wrong thing that ever happened, if they tell me I did it wrong and like tell me I shouldn't be making videos, like, I mean, they get to have those opinions, and they're not a reflection of what I offered, you know. None of it ever is. Positive feedback, negative feedback, none of it is a reflection of what I offered. It's all a reflection of like what they have going on inside their life, you know. And again, that's part of that self-worth of like, I can't control anybody else. I can only control myself, you know? Yes,
I
no.
am working on it.
All of these things. I hear you. Me too. Dude, it's a work in progress for the long haul, maybe, but it's a fun one. I think it's fun to figure out like the little steps forward, and to like, even just yesterday, I had that moment where I said something, they responded, and like, were, you know, misunderstanding me or whatever. And it's like, I sat with that discomfort, and instead of vocalizing it, I was like, wow, like this is the first time I've ever gotten to like really observe the discomfort inside my body that's coming from feeling misunderstood. Where is this coming from? Like, why does it bother me this much for them to misunderstand me? Why does it feel so scary and risky for them not to get it? Like, and so I really like went into the discomfort. Granted, I was not listening to her at that point, but like, you know, we do our best. So yeah, it's like, even just witnessing little growth like that, where you would normally interrupt and you didn't, it's like celebrating, like, hey, my communication skills are getting better. Like, great, you know, I listened really good. A good question. Like, I'm getting better. Yay. Little bit by little bit. Yeah. Working
Oh
on
my
it.
God.
I get it.
Yeah, I am excited for the progress. I am excited for the progress
Yeah.
because that will feel good.
Well, and do
You
you
know,
think like if you looked back like 5 years, 10 years, because you're what, like late 20s, right? You said 93. So yeah, like to your teens and early 20s, like how do you think your communication skills have improved in the last 5 to 10 years?
oh my gosh. It there's like I said before, there's like this film over things. I I feel like I don't have an accurate view of how I communicated when I was a child. Like
Hmm.
I I I'm like one of these people that like if I didn't look in the mirror, I would forget what I look like because I am just like when I was a kid, I was just kind of in I guess I was more maybe I was more grounded when I was a kid. I was just like in my body just being and doing, and I don't think I was reflective at all to like how people perceived me when I was younger. Like it wasn't until like I started experiencing like, you know, bumps, like just like, you know, nudges. And it still didn't really like, I look back and know that like, oh, this is why so and so didn't like really like me like that. Oh, this is why they were doing this. But I never like when I was in it, I never understood what was really going on. I feel like, and even with how people I like people would tell me like call me a know-it-all. My family would tell me that yeah, like that's the thing is that I always think that I'm right. I have um memories of that, but like I wasn't like thinking about how people perceived me. I was just doing the things that I do, showing
Mhm.
up for life.
Mhm.
Um I mean, I guess with students, I what with kids my age, I guess that's with other people. With kids my age, once I guess no. I just I just knew who didn't like me and who did like me. And I knew that like the people who didn't like me, like they would use me because I like I said, I'm very loud. So like, if you want to get a reaction out of somebody, you're going to get it out of me. And so they always knew that. But like, I guess I never thought about my communication and relation to other people that way. I was just in my own world. So dating, circling that back around to how it's changed in the last 5 to 10 years. It's like going from being in your own bubble and experiencing life and just not really knowing why, just taking things for face value, and then being hit with a ton of bricks. Like I've experienced so many ups and downs when it comes to my communication in the last 5 to 10 years. Good things where I do realize that like if I relax, I know when to say the right things. When I relax, the right things, they come out of my mouth. But like when I am anything other than relaxed, it just feels like a bomb. Like it just feels like nothing I say is ever right. Nobody understands me. I offend people, or I am self-righteous, or I'm all these other criticisms. Like it was like being ripped from my own bubble to feeling kind of like a pariah. And I feel like now I have the opportunity to meld both of those worlds, where I'm not so affected by other people's discomfort around me, but I'm also not just like in my own world doing my own thing, not worrying about it at all. I have to, it's like, it's part of the reason why I don't feel like I'm in the right place. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They always say that Pisces feels disconnected from the world. But I feel like it's because of my communication, where I'm like always in limbo, you know? And it's provided great things for me, because I can also just like, I don't need, I can communicate even with myself. Like I don't need other people to that. How does that even make sense? I don't need other people to feel as though that my thoughts and ideas make sense. Like they make sense to me. I know that they make sense to me, but like, I don't know how to make them make sense in the real world sometimes, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I think that
I don't know how to flesh them out,
yeah,
and how to make people see what I'm saying or my ideas. I just have so many ideas, but I it's like there's a block, there's a channel block. I don't even know if I answered the question.
I don't even know if there was a question, but that was really good. That was really good. I think you hit on something that is key for practice, like moving forward, that like you said, like when I relax, I know I can say the right thing. And when I'm not relaxed, it's anybody's guess how it's all gonna flush out. And for me too, ditto. Like, I mean, your frequency going into it, like your mix of vibrations going into it. I mean, like you said about being able to hear what's behind the words, like you can, lots of people can. I mean, lots of people can hear if you're full of shit, basically. Like if you're trying to, preach happiness and you are deeply miserable, like that can be felt at some level. And not that that's what you're trying to do, more like in my case of like, that's like one of the main things I teach is happiness. And so like, if I'm sad, I feel like my best bet is just to own it in that moment of like, hey, this is the real deal of what's real inside me. And it feels like accepting that no matter what it is would be relaxing, like in general. Like if you were allowed to be in whatever state you're showing up, kind of like going back to that divine timing idea of like, you know, you're only half of the manifestation of any conversation that you ever have with anybody else. They're manifesting that experience as much as you are. So if you come across in a certain way, yes, you manifested the guilt and the vulnerability hangover that might come after that, but they also manifested receiving the message exactly the way you delivered it. That's what they manifested. That's what they needed. And that's not really your place to judge like what they need in their process, you know? And like the teacher who didn't like you, like way back when, like that's what she needed. She needed to have her own issues like lit up in her world. And you were a cooperative component to her growth, made it uncomfortable for her. But again, that's what she needed. And yeah, when you come across like intense or passionate or anything, like the people listening, that's what they need. That's like trusting that, trusting the emotion behind your voice. Like, I mean, especially with the Mercury opposite moon, like, yeah, the sooner we can stop fighting against that and just like ride that wave. Like, if it's intense, if it's loud, if it's passionate, dude, like, I can't even picture it going wrong if on the inside you are relaxed and you are flowing the energy in the way that feels right to you.
Okay. Well,
it's not for me to know though. It's a practice of like you stepping into it. So I don't mean to tell you that this is how it's going to work.
No, that's good. I've been trying to do the like unclench the butt cheeks thing, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
You were talking about
totally.
Where you're like, yeah, if you're clenching,
the whole thing. It is.
It's not in your body.
Yeah.
And I realized that there's a lot of the times where I'm clenched for no reason. I'm clenched if I get too close to somebody else on accident, and like, oh my God, like just for what?
Yeah.
For what? For what?
I think it's like residual tension. Yeah, residual like feelings of unsafeness from previous experiences that we haven't fully processed that live in our body. This is my own perspective. And then yeah, like you get in a situation where you're like all tensed up and like in the middle of like a room by yourself. You're like, why am I so tense right now? Like, what is even happening here? So yeah, it's like a real thing.
I'm at 1%. Oh no, 1 second.
Plug in.